According to YouTube analytics, 98% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, the emergency override shrieked across every comm channel on orbital station Triumph 9, and Commander Zilax's three-fingered hands trembled as he gripped his command console. All personnel, immediate evacuation. This is not a drill. Gravitational anomaly detected. Extinction level event in progress. The station lurched. Gravity spiked from standard 0.8 G to 4.7 G in 3 seconds. Zilax's exoskeleton creaked as he was slammed into his chair, his secondary lungs collapsing under the pressure. Across the command deck, his navigator's skull audibly cracked against her terminal. The view screen showed chaos, 47 species in full panic, scrambling toward escape pods as their bodies compressed under impossible weight. Equipment tore free from wall moorings, crashing through deck plating. The hull groaned like a dying leviathan. "Commander!" His science officer, Kyeldra, barely gasped out the words, her voice a strangled wheeze. "Readings match the Kepler 7 event, 8,000 dead. We have maybe 6 minutes." 6 minutes before Triumph 9 joined the graveyard. Kepler 7, Vega Prime, Orion Gate, 3 stations, 23,000 souls, obliterated by gravitational storms that physics said shouldn't exist. And now the same readings bloomed across his sensors like a death sentence. Then he heard it, whistling. Someone was whistling. Zilax's optical sensors strained against the crushing gravity to focus on the maintenance bay access corridor. His double heart seized. The human was reorganizing her toolbox. Emma Johnson, maintenance technician, 2nd class, the station's only human employee, stood in the doorway adjusting her tool belt with the casual air of someone deciding which wrench to use first. She held a coffee mug in one hand, the liquid surface perfectly still, despite the station's violent shuddering. "Bit bumpy today, huh?" Emma called out, taking a sip. Gravity dropped to 0.2 G. Zilax's stomach lurched as his restraints caught him before he floated into the ceiling. Around him, crew members vomited helplessly, their inner ears destroyed by the sudden shift. Emergency lights flickered. The hull screamed. Emma planted one boot on the deck, the magnetic seal engaging with a soft click. She continued organizing her tools, humming now instead of whistling. "Human!" Zilax managed to roar, even as another gravity spike, 6.1 G this time, crushed him back down. His vision grayed at the edges. Blood vessels burst in his primary optical cluster. "Evacuate! Now!" Emma glanced up, seemingly noticing the emergency for the first time. She walked toward the command deck. Just walked. Normal human stride, boot over boot, casual as someone strolling through a park. The deck beneath her feet warped under the gravitational stress, metal shrieking. She stepped over a fallen support beam without breaking pace. "Emma Johnson, by emergency authority. Code Omega 7, I order you to the escape pods." Zilax's voice cracked. 15,000 inhabitants on this station. 15,000 lives dependent on evacuation in the next 4 minutes. And this human was walking through gravitational hell like it was a light breeze. Gravity spiked again. 7.2. Kyeldra's neck snapped. She stopped moving. Emma reached the command deck railing, setting her coffee mug down on a console that was actively tearing itself apart. The mug didn't even tip over. She surveyed the chaos with mild concern, the way someone might observe a leaky faucet. "You guys okay?" She looked at Zilax, who was pinned to his chair, barely conscious. "You look kinda rough. Want me to check the wobbly bits?" The what?" Zilax couldn't process the words. His translator must be malfunctioning. Gravity was oscillating between 0.3 G and 7.5 G every 8 seconds. His crew was dying, his station was disintegrating, and the human wanted to check the wobbly bits? Emma gestured vaguely at the ceiling. "You know, the gravity compensators. They sound kinda off. Probably just a loose coupling or something." She picked up her coffee, took another sip. This happens back home during tornado season. Everything gets all weird and wobbly. You just gotta ride it out. The station's AI announced in its death rattle voice, hull integrity at 41%, gravitational stress exceeding all safety parameters, structural collapse imminent. Emma frowned. Huh, guess it's worse than I thought. She cracked her knuckles, a sound that somehow carried over the screaming alarms. All right, well, you guys go ahead and evacuate. I'll see what I can do about stabilizing things. Zilak stared at her. Blood ran from his optical sensors. Around him, his command crew was either dead or dying. 15,000 people were abandoning ship. The greatest gravitational anomaly in recorded history was tearing his station atom from atom, and the human maintenance tech was offering to fix it. You, he wheezed, you can't, nobody survives. This is extinction level. Emma shrugged, already heading toward the maintenance access shaft. At 8.1 G, she moved a little slower. Maybe, hard to tell. Yeah, feels like home, she called back over her shoulder. Ever been to Denver? Mile High City, thin air, everything's heavier. This is like that, but, you know. She paused, considering. More. She disappeared into the shaft. Zilax activated his emergency beacon, his last conscious act before the gravity crushed him into unconsciousness. His final thought, the human thinks this feels like home. Zilax regained consciousness to find himself strapped into an emergency medical pod, auto-injectors pumping stabilizers into his bloodstream. The station still shuddered around him. Through the medbay viewport he could see debris floating past, entire sections of the outer ring torn away like paper. His comm crackled. Commander, this is Johnson. You awake yet? Emma, his voice was raw. You need to evacuate. This is a direct order. The storm is intensifying. Why? Her tone was genuinely puzzled. It's just weather. Just weather? Zilax tried to sit up, gasping as his cracked exoskeleton protested. This phenomenon has destroyed 3 stations. It's a gravitational collapse event. Emma's laugh crackled through the comm. Oh man, you should see Kansas tornado season. Now that's scary. Big funnel clouds, wind that'll rip your house clean off the foundation, debris flying everywhere. This? A metallic clang echoed through the channel. This is just some gravity wobbles. The station lurched. Gravity spiked to 6.2 Gs. Zilax's medical pod reinforced automatically, but he could hear the screams through the walls. Bones snapping, organs rupturing. His remaining crew, those who hadn't evacuated, were being crushed. The medbay doctor, a Threnian with a distributed skeletal system, liquefied against the floor with a wet sound that would haunt Zilax's nightmares. Emma, report status! He forced the words out through compressed lungs. Hang on, dropped my wrench! Through the security feed, barely functioning, Zilax watched the maintenance corridor. Emma bent down at the knees, picked up the fallen tool, and stood back up, normally, like she was picking up groceries. At 6.2 G. Got it, she said cheerfully. Man, everything's sliding around down here. Should have brought my anti-slip mat. The structural integrity is at 40%, Zilax gasped. The station is failing. You need to... Yeah, I can hear it creaking. Sounds like the compensators are really struggling. Probably just a loose coupling in the feedback system. I'll check it out. The compensators are offline. Zilax pulled up what remained of his engineering displays. Everything was red. This isn't a mechanical failure, Emma. This is a natural gravitational collapse, a phenomenon we don't understand. The compensators can't affect it because it's not... Huh. Emma's voice was thoughtful. Well, that's weird. Why would you build a station in a place with unstable gravity and not have proper compensators? We didn't! This region has been stable for 6,000 years. The storm appeared from nowhere. The comm cut out as another surge hit. 7.3 G. Zilax's medical pod cracked. Warning lights blazed. He was going to die here, pinned like an insect to a board, while his station disintegrated around him. Through the failing security feed, he watched Emma walk down Corridor 7 carrying her entire equipment cart. Heavy equipment. Plasma cutters, welding rigs, diagnostic scanners, easily 300 kilograms of gear. At 7.3 G, that cart weighed over 2 metric tons. Emma pushed it like a shopping cart. "Oh, sure, it's heavy," she said, her breathing only slightly elevated. "That's why I brought the reinforced cart. The regular one would have bent under this load." Zilax's translator stuttered. His mind refused to process the words. The science officer's instruments, those still functioning, showed clear readings. Emma was experiencing the exact same gravitational forces as everything else on the station. The laws of physics hadn't exempted her. Her body was enduring 7 times the force that was literally crushing his crew to death. She was just strong enough that it didn't matter. "What?" he whispered. "What are you?" The gravity suddenly dropped. 0.1 G. Zilax's stomach heaved as he went weightless in his pod. Through the walls he heard renewed screaming, crew members floating helplessly, their inner ears destroyed by the violent oscillation, vomiting and disoriented. The security feed showed Emma immediately plant her mag boots. The metallic thunk was oddly comforting. "Ugh, hate 0G, she muttered, now carefully pulling herself along handholds while guiding her floating equipment cart. "Makes organizing impossible. Everything just drifts away. Give me good old gravity any day." "Your world," Zilax's mind was fracturing. "Your homeworld has standard gravity?" 1G, yeah, pretty normal." "Why?" Another spike, 5.9 G. Emma grunted slightly, bracing against a wall. "Okay, yeah, this is getting annoying. Like that time I did the elevated training course at the gym. You know, the high-gravity workout?" They had it set to 2.5 G for extreme conditioning. She laughed. "Instructor said it was the hardest workout in the system. I told him it felt like a light cardio day." Systems were failing in cascades now. Life support at 30%, hull integrity at 36%. The outer ring had completely separated, taking 800 souls who hadn't reached the escape pods in time. The secondary ring was buckling. Zilax activated his emergency long-range comm, the one reserved for civilization-ending catastrophes. "This is Commander Zilax of Orbital Station Triumph 9 to Galactic Emergency Command. We are experiencing gravitational anomaly event comparable to Kepler 7 and Vega Prime, requesting immediate—" He paused, searching for words that made sense. "Requesting immediate consultation on human physiology and Death World survival protocols." Emma's voice came through, cheerful. "Found it." "Yeah, see, there's your problem. Whoever installed these G-field modulators did a really shoddy job. The conduit couplings aren't even properly torqued. No wonder they're failing." She was humming. Through a gravitational storm that had killed 23,000 sentients across 3 stations, through forces that were actively crushing him to death, the human maintenance tech was humming a tune while diagnosing the problem. "Emma," Zilax said quietly, "what's the gravity like on Earth?" "Earth. 1G, like I said. Standard." "Why? And that feels normal to you?" "Well, yeah. It's home. I mean, we've got some variation. Higher altitude, lower gravity, like Denver or La Paz. Sea level's a bit heavier, but mostly it's pretty consistent." A pause. "Why do you ask?" Zilax closed his optical sensors. "No reason," whispered. The station shuddered again. Gravity climbed toward 8G, and somewhere in the maintenance shafts, a human whistled while she worked, because to her, this felt like home. Claude can make mistakes. Please double-check responses. The emergency shuttle threaded through the debris field during a brief 1.2 G stabilization window, docking with Triumph 9's emergency port with seconds to spare. Chief Science Officer Vexathul of the Galactic Emergency Response Corps emerged, his 4 arms laden with scanning equipment. 40 years studying gravitational phenomena. 40 years. Vexathul had written the textbooks on gravitational anomalies, had consulted on the Kepler 7 disaster, had analyzed the Vega Prime wreckage. He knew everything there was to know about how gravity killed. And according to Commander Zilax's incoherent report, none of it mattered because a human was still alive. Where is she? Vexthul demanded, his sensory stalks twitching as he registered the ambient gravitational flux. Dangerous. Lethal. The readings were climbing again. Maintenance Shaft 7, Sub-Level 3, Zilax rasped from his medical pod. She's been down there for 18 minutes. In that. He gestured weakly at the gravitational readings. 8.4 G and climbing. Vexthul's secondary heart skipped. Nothing survives 8.4 G. The biological tolerance threshold is... I know the threshold! Zilax's voice cracked. She's been working through peaks of 8.9. She's welding. Vexthul activated his scanner array, pointing it toward the maintenance shafts. The readings materialized on his holographic display and his blood turned cold. Human biosignature detected. Gravitational exposure. 8.4 G core temperature, 37.2 degrees. Heart rate, 98 beats per minute, elevated but stable. Bone stress within acceptable parameters. Circulatory function, optimal. Respiratory function, optimal. This is a malfunction, Vexthul said flatly. The sensors are damaged by the gravitational flux. That's what I thought, Zilax whispered. I ran 3 separate diagnostic checks. They're all accurate. Emma's voice crackled over the comm. Hey, could you guys stop pointing those things at me? I'm trying to work here, and your scanners are making my teeth itch. Vexthul's primary manipulator trembled. Human Emma Johnson, this is Chief Science Officer Vexthul. I need you to remain still while I... Yeah, that's not happening. I've got about 3 more couplings to replace before I can even think about rerouting the compensator grid. A metallic clang echoed through the comm. Also, I'm at a really awkward angle right now and my shoulder's starting to cramp. Your shoulder is cramping. Vexthul looked at his readings again, at 8.4 G. Well, yeah, I've been holding this plasma welder above my head for like 10 minutes. That's not exactly ergonomic. Vexthul pulled up the human database entry, something he should have done immediately. Species designation, human. Origin world, Earth, Sol. System. Classification, Garden World, Class M, Goldilocks Zone. Standard gravity, 1.0 G. He checked again. 1.0 G, standard, normal. The same as 70% of spacefaring species. Your skeletal structure should be crushed, Vexthul said slowly. Your circulatory system should have collapsed. Blood pools in your extremities at anything above 4 G. Your heart can't possibly pump against this pressure. Your spine should have compressed. You should be dead. Emma's laugh was bright and genuine. My, what should be what now? I feel fine. Little tired, maybe. It's like doing squats at the gym for too long, you know. Your legs get that burn. The station lurched. Gravity spiked to 9.1 G. Vexthul's emergency suit engaged full support, but he still dropped to his knees, his exoskeleton buckling. Through the maintenance shaft camera, barely functioning, he watched Emma brace one hand against the wall. Okay, she said, her voice strained for the first time. Now it's getting annoying. 9.1 G, the highest gravitational force ever recorded in a survival situation. The outer ring tore away completely, the sound like a moon splitting in half. Vexthul's scanner shrieked warnings. Anything above 9G was theoretically unsurvivable for carbon-based life. Like that time at the gym, Emma continued, breathing harder now but still coherent. When I tried the advanced high-grav course, they had it set to 3G for the warm-up, said nobody had ever completed the full circuit. I figured, how hard could it be? You exercise in high gravity, Zilax wheezed. Well, yeah, good for bone density, muscle development. My trainer back on Earth recommended it when I signed up for the station job. Said I should do at least 2.5 G cardio 3 times a week to maintain fitness in variable G environments. She grunted, and the sound of welding resumed. That's my light cardio day. Vexthul's mind fractured. The entire foundation of galactic biology was built on the premise that life evolved in relatively gentle conditions. The sweet spot, 0.4 G to 1.2 G. Below that, species became fragile, wispy things. Above that, life couldn't develop complex structures. It was fundamental. It was law. Your species evolved at 1G, he said carefully. Yep. And this, he gestured at the readings, 9 times your standard gravity. You describe this as annoying. I mean, I wouldn't want to do this all day, but yeah, it's manageable. Annoying is the right word. A pause. Earth gravity is normal. This is like, what, 9 times that? Yeah, that's rough. Rough? Vexthul's voice rose to a pitch his species only used for existential crises. Your species considers death-level gravitational force rough? Well, what would you call it? Unsurvivable, Emma chuckled. Okay, dramatic much? Look, it's heavy. I'm not saying it's fun. But unsurvivable? Come on, I'm literally surviving it right now. Vexthul pulled up Earth's full planetary profile with shaking manipulators. Gravity, 1.0 G. Atmospheric pressure, 101.325 kilopascals. Axial tilt, 23.5 degrees causing extreme seasonal variation. Tectonic activity, high. Weather systems, violent and unpredictable. Native predators, numerous and lethal. Your home world. His voice was hollow. Your species evolved in gravitational hell. Hell? Emma sounded offended. It's just Earth. We've got way worse problems than gravity. Ever heard of weather? Weather. Yeah, you know, hurricanes, big rotating storm systems with winds over 250 kilometers per hour. They just show up, rip apart whole cities. Or earthquakes, where the ground literally splits open and swallows buildings. Or tsunamis, walls of water 30 meters high that wipe out coastlines. She was welding again, the plasma torch humming. Gravity's pretty consistent, actually. It's everything else that tries to kill you. The station's AI chose that moment to speak, its voice distorted by failing systems. Structural failure imminent. Main support pylons compromised. 4 minutes to complete breakup. Recommend immediate evacuation of all remaining personnel. Well, Emma said, her voice tight with concentration as she worked at 8.5 G, that's not good. Emma, you need to evacuate. Zilax's voice was surprisingly steady. You've done everything you can. The station is lost. Yeah, about that. The welding stopped. I think I can stabilize the core. It'll take maybe 3 minutes and I'll need to reroute power through the emergency grid, but it's doable. The calculations, Vexthul pulled up his models. Even if the core stabilizes, the gravitational stress will tear the station apart from the inside. The math doesn't work. Yeah, your math assumes standard compensator configuration. But I'm not using standard configuration anymore. I'm using... Emma paused, considering. Honestly, I have no idea what to call it. It's kind of like surfing. You know, riding the wave instead of fighting it. Vexthul stared at his scanner. Every principle of gravitational physics he'd spent 40 years mastering was being casually dismissed by a maintenance technician who thought 2.5 G was light cardio. You guys should probably evacuate, though, Emma added. Just in case I'm wrong, I'll try to stabilize things, but no promises. Zilax looked at Vexthul. Vexthul looked at his readings. The human was working in conditions that should be fatal, describing solutions that violated known physics, suggesting they evacuate while she stayed behind to fix the unfixable. What? Vexthul whispered. What are humans? Emma's laugh crackled through the calm. We're the species that looked at Earth, a planet actively trying to murder us, and said, yeah, this is fine. Let's build civilizations here. Now are you guys gonna evacuate, or do I need to come drag you to the pods myself? I cannot abandon my station. Zilax pulled himself free from the medical pod, his exoskeleton cracking with the movement. If you're staying, Commander Emma.
Johnson, then so am I. Emma's head appeared through the maintenance shaft opening, her face flushed and sweaty. Cool, hold this. She tossed him a wrench. The tool hit the deck with a clang that dented the metal. At current gravity, 8.7 G, the wrench weighed 73 kilograms. Zilax couldn't even shift it. Right, Emma said, grabbing it back with one hand. Forgot you guys aren't built for this. Okay, just try not to die while I'm gone. Vex, keep an eye on him. She disappeared back into the shaft. Vex Thule pulled up the access tunnel cameras, his sensory stalks rigid with horror. The tunnel was barely a meter wide, designed for emergency repairs, not for working in apocalyptic gravitational conditions. Emma crawled through it on her hands and knees. The gravity readout climbed. 9.4 G, 9.8 G, 10.2 G. At 10.2 G, Emma's breathing was labored, her movements slower. But she kept moving, hand over hand, knee forward, dragging her equipment behind her. A sustained gravitational force that would have liquefied any known species, and she was crawling through it. 2 minutes to structural failure, the station AI announced. Emma reached the gravity compensator core, a spherical chamber at the station's center where the main gravitational field generators hummed, or rather, screamed, in protest. She pulled herself to the main control panel, squinting at the readouts. Yep, thought so. Feedback loop. Explain, Vex Thule demanded, watching through every available camera. Your compensators are fighting the storm. Emma was already pulling panels off the main console, exposing the control circuits beneath. Every time the external gravity spikes, the compensators push back harder, but that just creates resistance, and the storm pushes back against the resistance, which makes the compensators push harder, which creates a positive feedback loop. Vex Thule's mind raced. But the compensators are designed to resist gravitational anomalies. That's their entire function. Yeah, and when you resist a wave, it pushes back harder. Emma was rewiring circuits now, her hands steady despite the crushing gravity. You gotta flow with it. Flow with, what are you talking about? Surfing, Emma laughed, breathless but genuine. Okay, so imagine you're in the ocean, right? Big wave coming at you. If you stand there and try to block it, it knocks you down and drags you under. But if you ride it, move with it, use its energy instead of fighting it, you stay on top. She pulled a crystalline circuit board free, examined it, and jammed it back in at a different angle. Same principle here. Instead of pushing against the gravitational storm, we let the compensators harmonize with it. Let the storm pass through the station without resistance. That violates every safety protocol. Vex Thule pulled up the calculations, his 4 hands flying across his console. The inhabitants will experience the raw gravitational fluctuations. Without compensator, resistance, the peak forces will be what, like 2G? Emma was rerouting power conduits now, her movements increasingly efficient. Yeah, they'll be uncomfortable for 20 minutes, better than dead. 90 seconds to structural failure. 2G will cause severe physiological distress to 80% of known species, Vex Thule protested. And 10G causes death to 100% of known species, except apparently us. Emma snapped the final connection into place. Look, you guys can feel uncomfortable or you can die. I know which one I'd pick. Her hands moved across the reconfiguration interface, entering parameters that made Vex Thule's sensory stalks curl in horror. She was essentially telling the compensators to stop compensating, to become transparent to the gravitational flux instead of resisting it. This is insane, he whispered. Yeah, probably. Emma's finger hovered over the activation switch, but I'm a maintenance tech from Kansas, and I've fixed worse with less. You ready? No. Cool. Here we go. She activated the new configuration. The station shuddered, a deep resonance that Vex Thule felt in his bones. The gravity didn't drop. It shifted, becoming fluid somehow, wave-like. The crushing pressure that had been building, the violent spikes and drops, suddenly smoothed into a rhythm. The compensators weren't fighting anymore. They were conducting. Gravity stabilized at 1.8 G, brutal for any species except one. Structural integrity holding at 32%, the AI reported, its voice surprised if an AI could express such things. Gravitational flux passing through primary systems without resistance. Storm is dissipating. Through the viewport, Zilax watched the impossible.
The gravitational anomaly, the storm that had destroyed 3 stations, that had killed 23,000 people, was breaking apart, its energy bleeding away into space as the station stopped providing resistance for it to build against. 20 minutes, Emma said, climbing back through the access tunnel. Give it 20 minutes, and the storm will be gone completely. She emerged from the maintenance shaft, her uniform soaked with sweat, grease smeared across her face. At 1.8 G, she stood up and stretched, her spine popping audibly. See, she grinned at them. Just needed to stop fighting it. Vexthul stared at his instruments. 15,000 lives saved. Station Triumph 9 intact, if barely. 40 years of gravitational theory rendered obsolete by a human who compared it to surfing. Galactic Emergency Command is requesting full report, Zilax said quietly. They've been monitoring. He paused. They want to know how we survived. Emma wiped her hands on her pants. Tell them we stopped trying so hard. Sometimes the solution isn't more force, it's less resistance. She grabbed her toolkit. Anyway, I'm gonna go check on the secondary stabilizers. This 1.8 G is gonna be rough on you guys for a while, but it should drop. Back to 0.8 in about an hour once the storm's fully dispersed. Rough, Zilax repeated. She says 1.8 G is rough. Emma waved over her shoulder as she headed for the next maintenance corridor. Well, yeah, I mean, it's not comfortable, but hey, feels like home. The emergency response fleet arrived 6 hours later, their sensors screaming warnings about gravitational instability. They found Triumph 9 intact, its hull scarred but holding, and 15,000 inhabitants alive. The fleet commander's first transmission was a single word: how. Vexthul stood in the command center, surrounded by data streams that rewrote everything he'd ever known. She's right, he said, his voice hollow. Complete reversal of gravitational crisis management theory. We've been fighting gravitational anomalies for centuries, making them worse. The humans solved it by... He gestured helplessly at his screens. By not solving it, by letting it happen. Within 12 hours, the Galactic Council convened an emergency session. The recordings of Emma's solution played on loop. A maintenance tech casually explaining wave dynamics while working in forces that should have killed her. Motion to draft new emergency protocols, Council Member T-Vex announced. In any gravitational emergency, consult human personnel if available. Consult them about what? Another council member asked. Surfing? Apparently, yes. Meanwhile, Emma filed her incident report from the maintenance office, her fingers flying across the datapad. Found loose coupling in G compensator junction 7, fixed feedback loop in primary compensator array. Recommend better maintenance schedule and quarterly system checks. 3 sentences. Zilax read it twice, then a third time. That's, you saved 15,000 lives and you wrote 3 sentences? Emma looked up from her coffee. What else is there to say? She laughed, that same easy sound that had echoed through the apocalypse. Problem, solution, done. I mean, I could write a novel about it, but that's not really my style. The Galactic Council is meeting about you right now. Oh, she took a sip. That's nice. Are they going to fix the budget for maintenance supplies? Because we're still running low on conduit sealant. Across the station, Vexthul presented his preliminary findings to a gallery of the galaxy's top scientists. His primary manipulator trembled as he updated Earth's classification in the galactic database. Previous classification, Garden World, Class M, Goldilocks Zone. He paused. Recommended new classification, Death World, Class 9. Gravitational stress training environment. Native species evolved under conditions previously considered unsurvivable. They call it the Goldilocks Zone, someone whispered. They think their planet is mild. Emma's voice drifted through the open comm channel. She'd left it active while grabbing lunch. Well, yeah, Earth's pretty nice. Good seasons, decent weather most of the time. Mountains, oceans, forests. It's actually really beautiful. The scientists stared at their data streams. hurricanes, earthquakes, tsunamis, volcanic eruptions, a planet that actively tried to kill its inhabitants on a regular basis. Emma thought it was pretty nice. Anyway, I'm gonna grab lunch, Emma's voice continued. That storm made me hungry. You guys want anything? I think the cafeteria's still serving. She walked past the medical bay where Zilax was receiving treatment, moving normally through the residual 1.2 G that had his doctors struggling to stay upright. She waved cheerfully. 20 minutes later, Emma sat in the cafeteria, eating a sandwich and reviewing the station's maintenance schedule on her datapad. The sandwich was pressed flat. The cafeteria had learned to adjust their food preparation for higher gravity conditions. Should probably check the oxygen recyclers next, she muttered around a bite. Those compressors sounded weird during the storm, little rattly. Zilax stood in the doorway, watching her. He was updating every human crew protocol in the station database. Warning: human tolerance for extreme conditions exceeds all known parameters. In emergency situations, defer to human judgment regarding survival thresholds. Do not attempt to order human evacuation based on conditions that would be fatal to other species. Verify lethality with human personnel first. Emma noticed him and grinned. Oh, hey, boss. She chuckled, that warm sound that somehow made surviving the apocalypse feel like a Tuesday afternoon. So, about that raise we discussed? Zilax's translator helpfully noted that human laughter often indicated stress relief, bonding behavior, or amusement at cosmic irony. He suspected it was all three. The council is drafting a new pay scale specifically for human maintenance personnel, he said. The preliminary numbers are substantial. Sweet. Emma took another bite of her sandwich. I'm thinking about saving up for a vacation. Maybe head back to Earth, do some hiking in the Rockies. The Rockies, Zilax checked his database. Mountain range, elevation 401 meters at highest peak, gravity 1.0 G, weather extreme and unpredictable, native predators, multiple species including apex carnivores, recommended for experienced climbers only. Emma called it a vacation. That sounds nice, he managed. Right? She finished her sandwich, stood up, and grabbed her toolkit. Okay, back to work. Those compressors won't check themselves. She headed for the maintenance corridors, whistling a tune he didn't recognize. Across the galaxy, the Galactic Emergency Broadcast Network updated its protocols. The new message transmitted to every station, every ship, every outpost. Gravitational Emergency Protocol. Update: human species demonstrates extreme survivability in high-gravity conditions. Tolerance exceeds 10 G sustained exposure. In gravitational crisis situations, human solutions may violate standard physics protocols but have proven effective. Humans thrive in death conditions. Adjust expectations accordingly. In the maintenance shaft, Emma found the oxygen recycler compressors. She listened to the rattle for a moment, nodded to herself, and pulled out her tools. Yep, bearings loose. Easy fix. She started humming again, the sound echoing through the corridors of Triumph 9, a station that had died and been resurrected by a maintenance tech from Kansas who thought 10G was annoying and Earth was pretty nice. Somewhere in the galaxy, a gravitational storm formed near another station. The inhabitants didn't panic this time. They checked their crew roster first. Do we have any humans on staff? The answer would determine whether they evacuated or just waited it out with some minor discomfort. Emma finished tightening the bearing, closed the access panel, and marked it complete on her datapad. Another job done. Another Tuesday. She headed back to the maintenance office, already planning her weekend. Maybe she'd try that new restaurant on the promenade, the one that served food at 1.5 G, supposed to enhance the flavors somehow. Feels like home, she said to no one in particular, and somewhere in the command center, Zilax shuddered at the words. Because for Emma Johnson, maintenance tech, Earth survivor, gravity storm fixer, home was a Class 9 death world that the rest of the galaxy couldn't survive for a day, and she thought it was pretty nice.